Talked about super sustainability and the fact that your sculptures create other sculptures as they grow within themselves. How do you view the plants, which are generally seen, as you said, as a very happy medium? How do you view those as confronting society in a way, or do your works confront society and capitalist views?
I think it is possible to use any medium to make artwork that confronts people and deals with issues. Plants, for instance, don't just have to be nice things that give us a feel-good they don't have to just work on that basis. One of the pieces that I'd be very interested to realise is a piece of an aeroplane which is made of plants flying through a building.
A lot of artists working today, be it in photography or painting or sculpture, would say that they're dealing with environmental issues and ecological issues. Do you think that they're sustainable, their work is sustainable in the same way as yours is?
Well, some work may be sustainable, but I think, you know, that's the difference between super sustainability is moving past that into work where the pieces themselves generate more material to make new work. The whole arts industry and a lot of artists who are working with environmental issues is actually quite detrimental to the environment. I mean, it's not so much the activities that people do, it's the scale. There are more artists making work now in the past 10 years than all recorded history added together.
Wow.
So there's huge amounts of work being made, and we look at art galleries which need air conditioning, temperature control, high energy use to store the work. They all have shops, etc. So you have artists often within those galleries making work which is commenting on the consumer society, and the whole thing is that they're actually part of that consumer society themselves in the same way that a shopping mall or a housing estate might be.
Yes, yeah.
And it's become a worldwide trend, you know, art tourism, for instance. And it's not that we can't do that, but it's the scale that we do it at which becomes a problem. I don't condemn anyone for doing any kind of creative practice. I think being creative is lifts the maker's spirit and can communicate all sorts of things to an audience. But what I am interested in doing is, through the work I'm making, exploring alternative methods of making art so that it is possible to make art which is truly super sustainable, where you're just working purely with plants.
And the art world, to a certain extent, is very much a microcosm of the world as a whole in terms of our use of the world's resources then?
I think it is, very much so. I mean, one of the problems that I see in the print-based work that I've made is that there is more of a demand for larger works than there is for smaller works. So not only is there this whole drive for more people to produce more, the whole essence is make them bigger as well. So we actually end up making bigger and more work. If you look back at some of the photograms that were made after the First World War, you find that the photograms that Man Ray, people like that, made were actually really small things. They're really small because they didn't have access to large amounts of material, but they're very pertinent images.
Yes, yeah. So you propose we scale down in the art world in the way that we need to scale down in general?
I think it's a difficult thing. I mean, people are going to want to, you know, they're going to want to make what drives them and often what the market demands. But what I'm interested in exploring through the plant work is alternatives.
And then in opening up that new area in which to work, hopefully more people will use that sustainable area.
I hope so, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of buildings to cover out there. You know, if we look at the planet in terms of growth, the only limiting factor is the amount of light passing the planet from the sun. That is the limiting factor on the amount of growth we can have on the planet. We need to use a certain amount of the light from the sun to drive certain processes to keep the planet alive.
Yes.
And if we don't do that, we run into problems, and we see that with climate change at the moment, with deforestation and things like that. So at some point we have to reach a sort of no growth phase where we actually we stop growing. And you know, one of the questions which I've been asking myself recently is, if we do go into a phase like that and there is so much artwork being made, what do we do with it?